In this video, we're going to address the question, do I kick too much? If you like this, please give us a thumbs up. Stick around to the end because I'm going to give you a really cool bonus, an exercise from the great Nuno Oliveira, this man, on how to activate your horse with the most minimal leg possible in a way that will work every time. Hi, this is Rupert Isaacson from heliosharmony.com. And we're going to talk about leg aids. It's a big bone of contention. It's a big area of confusion for a lot of people. Do I use my leg too much? Why would we ask ourselves this question? Well, some of you may have noticed, I should imagine a lot of you may have noticed, that you've had riding instructors that have told you to kick a lot. And you've probably noticed that the effect of kicking a lot with your horse, legs, more leg, there never seems to be enough leg that you can give or use, meaning that if what we're looking for is engagement, then why are we constantly being yelled at to keep kicking? Surely we would use the leg and the horse would engage and that would be enough. What we tend to find is something different. We almost find the opposite of this happening. Either the horse rushes, gets faster but not engaged, or the horse kind of gets a bit annoyed and starts to go behind the leg, almost like they don't want to go forward. The more leg, the more pressure we put on. And this is often not addressed. The riding instructor may not have any other tools. The sad thing about the way many of the German, British, American, it really doesn't matter what these state exams are for teaching riding instructors. They say the right things. They say you should use the leg to engage the hind, but they don't say how. So people get through their exams by saying the right thing, then you appear in front of them as the riding client, they tell you that, and it doesn't work. And what happens? They just shout louder, and you keep trying, and you look up 3 years later and you're still doing the same thing. But you might have noticed that there are riders out there whose legs don't seem to move at all, and whose horses just seem to go so well. It's almost like they're not using their legs. Well, that's kind of the key. How do you get this effect where the horse is just in front of the leg, going forward nicely? There's no kicking, there's no force. You're not seeing the riders going bang, bang, bang on the sides of the horse. You're not seeing the horse going, I don't like that. Or you're not seeing the horse going, oh my gosh, and rushing forward. You're seeing this total harmony. What's going on? What are we not being told? Okay, so follow me to the end of this video and I'm going to give you a really cool hack into how to get this process started to fix this problem. Until then, let's dive in. What did the old masters have to say on the topic? The old masters were not great advocates of kicking. In fact, they didn't want you to do it at all. They wanted your leg to be quiet and soft. The great Nuno Oliveira talked about riding your horse through a tunnel of silken aids so that the leg aids would feel like whispers, almost like you were blowing on the side of the horse, and that would be enough. He got this idea largely from a man called Baucher. Gets confusing for we English speakers. We think it's Baucher, but it's Baucher. He was French. And Baucher was getting this to some degree from a man in the previous century, François Robichon de la Guérinière. If you think about it, why would you not kick? Well, the difficulty is all three of these guys say, if you kick a lot, you put tension in your leg. And if you feel your leg right now as you're sitting watching this video, just give your thigh a bit of a feel. You'll notice it's strong. It's kind of the biggest muscle thing you've got in your body, your quads and the big bones in there. And then you've got, your lower leg, that's pretty strong too. And then the foot on the end. If you give somebody a good kick, if you take another human, another monkey, and give them a good kick, it's devastating. Horses are obviously much stronger than us. But if we go thump, thump, thump on their sides, it's not comfortable. It's distracting and it's annoying. And eventually horses will begin to resist the desire to go forward rather than want to go forward. Then what do people often do? Put spurs on and then use the spurs for not what the spurs are designed for, to attack the horse to make him go forward. That's actually not what spurs were designed for. Spurs are designed to deliver a very accurate, subtle aid from time to time that makes it crystal clear to the horse what to do. And very occasionally, they're there to go against the grain of the hair in a stroking motion to calm a horse down. We'll make more videos on that slightly counterintuitive topic later. But all the old masters made the point that if you put tension in your leg, you're going to put tension in your hips, which tends to make a horse slow down and resist movement. And you're going to put tension in the hind legs of the horse because it's going to reflect what's going on in your leg. So what do we do about this problem? And why is it really a problem? Well, if you think about dressage in a way that is floating, you want to go from shoulder in to half pass. You want to go from half pass into your pirouette. You want to go from pirouette into your flying changes or something like that. You haven't got time in those movements to clench and unclench these big muscles in your leg, to move them around in a big way. We're going to be doing a video on the 1x tempes, and you'll see that you haven't got time to move your legs around or clench and unclench them. It's happening too fast. Change, 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 change. You have to set the legs in a position and then let them give tiny electrical pulses and have the horse be open to the idea of what these tiny electrical pulses are. Now, the man that we spoke about just now, Nuno Oliveira, when he began his education with old masters that he was looking back to in time, he started, like I said, with this chap, Baucher. And Baucher was an interesting man because he had had a career showing horses in what they called then the circus, but really that was like equestrian theatre in Paris, and wowing the crowds. And he came up with new things, including the 1x tempes. The 1x tempes are a creation of François Baucher. However, Baucher had an accident. A chandelier fell on him in the arena, and he became effectively a para rider. He ended up with no more force in his legs and relatively little in his arms. And he had to find a way to keep riding these very hot horses. He was mostly using thoroughbreds and Anglo-Arabs, which were the kind of horse of the day in Paris at that time, in a way that could work without him using the force that he had previously had in his body. So he'd always been a light rider, and he'd grown up actually near Versailles, or in Versailles, which is where the big royal palace is, but after the French Revolution, where there was a reaction against the old, what they call the Ancien Régime, the old monarchy. So the school of Versailles was actually closed when he was still a boy and adolescent. But he grew up seeing the horses being trained in the manner of La Guérinière, who we are making videos on as well, considered the sort of god of the Zeus of the pantheon of the old masters for very good reasons. Okay, so he had that training in him. And after he had his accident, he realized that, well, whether he wanted to use his legs or not, it just wasn't going to work. And he found that, oh my gosh, if you didn't use them, or you only used them in this tiny electrical pulse sort of way, the horse went so much better. And he came up with a concept of hand without legs, meaning to soften the horse's jaw, but without causing tension in the horse, and legs without hands, to sometimes direct the horse, say in the lateral movements, without pulling him on the inside rein. Well, this is kind of how we ride in dressage today. So we can believe what these guys were telling us because it clearly worked. So what they realized you had to do was get off the horse. And you had to teach the horse how to go forward from the touch of a stick on his flank. Sometimes if the horse had a negative reaction to that, you had to touch the horse perhaps under the belly. That was the secondary point. And hold the horse not with a closed hand. So you're on the ground, let's say you're holding the rein or a rope. Instead of holding it like this, you must hold it like this. It's literally just laying in your hand. So you have no option. You cannot pull. And then you're tapping the horse and stepping backwards at the same time. So they found that if you did this and then you worked patterns like this on the ground, the horse became super sensitive to the merest touch. And you could have horses that at the beginning needed, a fairly firm, hey, wake up, here I am. But within, 4 or 5 repetitions, you only had to kind of lift the stick and the horse would just move forward. And you stopped the horse by putting the whip on the shoulder. And then to help the horse to understand the effect of the rider, all you needed to do was put a rider on top and have the rider touch very, very gently with the inside leg at the same time that the person on the ground touched with the stick and perhaps gave a little click or a verbal cue and move forward. And then when the time came to stop, the ground monkey, the person on the ground, could put the whip on the shoulder, which the horse already understands, and the rider would gently close and then relax the knees. And then, oh my gosh, suddenly the horse understood. I don't need the reins to stop or slow down. This can just be done with the knees. That technique goes back to Mr. François Robichon de la Guérinière, who writes about the use of the knee. And the merest flicker from the leg was enough to just tell the horse, please go forward until I ask you to do something else. One of the great misnomers, misunderstandings about forward is that forward must mean forward with a lot of power. It doesn't. None of these guys ever said that. They all talk about going forward. They all just say forward is not backward. So forward can be very soft and slow, and forward can be with a lot of power. But when do you discern which? Now, this brings us to Gustav Steinbrecht, who's the German dude from the 1830s, who people generally think that the German system is based on him. And you'll hear a lot of people say, I ride in the German system, and it goes back to Gustav Steinbrecht. Gustav Steinbrecht never said, push your horse forward in this powerful way. In fact, what he said was, let your horse go really slowly at first, because he's going to need time to understand what it is you're asking him. And only when he has that understanding do you begin to add power. Unfortunately, these days, particularly in sport dressage, we're told to add power from the get-go. And the horse is like, well, gosh, I don't even understand what's going on. And you see a lot of resistance, you see a lot of rushing, and you see a lot of horses ending up behind the leg. But the grand old man himself, who himself was trying to get back, he's 100 years after this guy, but he's using warm bloods now, the new warm bloods, heavier horses. He's trying to help them become like these light Baroque horses. This grand old man himself, Gustav Steinbrecht, said, actually, you don't want your horse going forward with maximum power until he's understood what to do very, very slowly. So the use of the leg as a sort of a tiny electrical pulse was really then developed by Baucher. And those riders who learn to do this can do what Nuno was saying, ride the horse through a tunnel of silken aids, meaning don't push, don't kick, don't use tension, and don't create tension in your horse by having tension in your leg. Now, this is all predicated upon is the independent seat. The rider has to be able to balance themselves, of course, in the saddle without having to hang on to the horse's mouth or hang on with their legs. And so, of course, there's an education process that the rider has to go through with this on schoolmaster horses, being lunged, being worked with someone at the shoulder, and gradually learning how to balance themselves in this way. But once the lower leg of the rider is stable and the seat is stable, therefore the hands are stable, this effect can happen. But we can teach the horse from the get-go, from the ground, to never ever need to be kicked or pulled. Okay, so that's what Baucher left us, because he really developed this because he basically ran out of leg himself and still had to wow the audiences in Paris with his 1x10 piece and things like that. We have many, many, many tutorials on this, and we show you exactly how to do this in our Helios Harmony course on longridehome.com. So please do sign up on that, and there's a free intro course below. At the beginning of this video, I promised you a bonus, an exercise from Mr. Nuno Oliveira on how to start this process of getting your horse to go forward from the merest whisper of the leg. And I've sort of described it verbally, but I feel it's easier if you get a bit of a visual. I brought my very good friend Mahiko here to demonstrate how this works, and also my friend Angelina. And Angelina is going to show you how to activate the horse. Angelina stands at the horse's between the shoulder and sort of the eye, the line of the ear to the eye. And let's assume that Mahiko is wearing a cavesson or a halter or a bridle, and in her hand, Angelina is holding the rein or the rope in an open hand, not with the fingers closed. I'm going to say it again, not with the fingers closed, with the fingers open. So she cannot pull. That would be in her left hand, and in her right hand, she has a stick. And what she does is she simultaneously taps the horse here, where her leg would be if she was riding. And at the same time, with this leg, she steps back, but without pulling. I'll say it 3 times because that always helps things go in the brain, at least it does for me. Without pulling, without pulling, without pulling. Just with an open hand to tap and bring the leg back at the same time. Sometimes you have to go tap, tap. And then when it's time to stop, you go, ah, or ho. You put the whip on the shoulder, which blocks the movement of the shoulder. Top tip, do this on a straight line against the wall or a fence. It helps the horse. Top tip 2, if you've got a big heavy horse, a cold blood or a big heavy warm blood that might try to trundle over you, do it in the corner where the wall would be here. So it makes perfect sense for the horse to stop there. And after a while, on switch, off switch, on switch, off switch, until all you need to do, all Angelina eventually needs to do is ha, actually without making contact. Then I would come into the picture. I would ask Angelina to come on top of the horse, and I would do the same thing. Tack, tack, ho, while she just uses a little touch of her inside leg. And when the time comes to ho, she closes her knees gently and then relaxes them. This is almost like a superpower. Thank you so much, Angelina and Mike. Because it allows you to do things that it looks like you shouldn't be able to do, like go from full extended trot or a canter into piaffe in place. How on earth do you do that without yanking on the reins and disturbing the horse? By close the knees once, close the knees twice. If the horse understands this, then the 2 lower legs come back. We've taught the horse that that is the piaffe cue, and boom, 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 there you are. However, you'll never need to use your legs banging against the horse to engage the hind. Now, the real engagement of the hind comes through jaw flexions and learning pattern 1 and pattern 2, which we have extensive videos on, to place first the inside hind and then the outside hind under the point of gravity. But no amount of kicking will get you there. What the legs are supposed to do is simply direct the horse from time to time, or with the knees, slow the horse down without losing rhythm. That's all the legs are there for. It's an astonishing concept, but once you begin doing this bonus hack, you will see your horse just has impulsion. These old guys, they are the best guide. Stick with us. If this was in any way useful to you, please comment below. If you've got questions, please do ask. We'll absolutely answer them all. If you liked it, please give us a thumbs up, subscribe, tell a friend. It really, really helps us get this information out there. If you want to learn more, you'll see that we have a intro course down below, or you can join our membership and start taking our Helios Harmony course step by step. from 0 to the PF. You can also email us through that site if you want to come and ride our Schoolmaster horses and train directly with us. And check out our cool merch. It's also on the site. See you next time.